Hey guys, it's Kesara, and today we're going to be talking about the most surprising book that I read in 2024. So I actually haven't read that many books this year as compared to previous years, but I've done like end of the year videos like this. So because of that, I'm limiting myself to 5 books per video. So we're only going to get the top 5 most surprising books for me this year, and I'm separating out fiction versus nonfiction because I did end up reading a lot of nonfiction. So I will be talking about those books separately, but in this video, we have a lot of great, surprisingly good reads to get to. So the first book that I want to talk about is One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. So this is the first book in a duology. I'm currently still reading the second book, but I had to include this because it wasn't really a book that I expected to like. It's a romantasy, and to be honest, I did not love the romance part of this book, but I did love like the overall fantasy of it. In this book, it's following a character named Elspeth Spindle, and she lives in this world in which magic is kind of a disease. So like when you get like this plague, you get infected and then you can get magical powers afterwards, but it's kind of illegal to keep those magical powers. So all of the people who are infected are taken away and killed. The only magic that it's legal to use are these cards that were created. If you own one of the cards, then you can use a specific type of magic, but if you don't have one of those cards, then it's kind of illegal to have magical powers. Elspeth was infected when she was really young, so now she does have a certain type of magic. When she touched one of the cards, the nightmare card, the nightmare came out of the card and is now living in her. So she has a nightmare in her head, which is just a really interesting premise. I really like that premise, but also like she's alive, obviously, so just her being alive after having been infected is kind of illegal. I think it was just a really strong premise that I really liked. And then there is like a very lyrical nature to the writing that I really like, especially when the nightmare is talking, because the nightmare talks to Elspeth in her head, and he also like helps her like see the cards and like other magical things. That is great. I wasn't expecting where this book was going. It was a bit darker than I feel like we get from most romantasies, so it really worked for me. Like to me, it's almost like a horror fantasy rather than a romantasy, because I didn't really feel very much for the romance, and while it's still there, it's not that big of a part of the plot, but the romantasy, like adventure, that side of it is really big part of the plot, and I really like that about it. I'm really excited to see where the second book in this series goes, but I was pleasantly surprised to find that I actually did really enjoy this book. So the next book I want to talk about is A Sorceress Comes to Call by Kingfisher. I had never picked up any books by this author before. I got the recommendation from this from kind of like the same people that were recommending One Dark Window, so I was just like, I should pick it up. Sounds like a good idea. I kind of expected this to be a romantasy. I don't know why I expected this to be a romantasy. It is not a romantasy whatsoever. It's definitely kind of like a horror fantasy, which I didn't realize this author does write horror as well, and that definitely shows in this book because it is fantastic. So this is following 2 people, Cordelia and Hester, and Cordelia is the daughter of a sorceress, and her mother kind of completely controls her. Like she makes her be obedient, like she'll fully control her body, like what she says and everything, and like Cordelia is just like a passenger in her own body basically. And then we have Hester, whose brother is kind of being courted by this sorceress, but Hester is like an independent woman and has been running her brother's household because it's in those times when like women like couldn't own anything. So if this sorceress manages to like marry her brother and take over the household, Hester is basically gonna lose everything. So it has really high stakes for both of the characters, and it was just such a great ride. I really enjoyed this so much. It's kind of like if Jane Austen wrote horror but also fantasy at the same time. I feel like that's how this kind of feels to me, and I really enjoy this. This is definitely an author that I'm going to read more from because I did not expect how much I was going to end up loving this book, and I'm so excited to see more of her works. Okay, so the next book I want to talk about is Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. This book I picked up on complete whim. All I knew was that it was a romantic contemporary novel, and a lot of people seem to like it. Romantic contemporaries are very hit or miss for me, and this one was definitely a hit. I love this so much. So the main female character is 38 years old. She's a surgeon and very well respected in her field. Her love interest is in his late 20s, and he's from this small town. He is still well-to-do, like he owns an inn, or rather he buys an inn, but he was running it. It was his mother's inn before that, and he's also the mayor of the town. There's a lot going on. I ended up really liking this a lot. I think part of it, this romance just really worked for me. I wasn't expecting too much from this. It ended up like getting me out of like a reading slump, and I ended up really loving it. I think part of it is that it went into more than just like the romantic aspects of their relationship. It went into like her previous relationship and some of the issues that she had with her previous relationship. With that relationship, she was just she was kind of trying to appease everyone else rather than having a relationship for herself. I liked seeing how she navigated that, and I think what the author did really well is she not only just said, oh, the previous relationship is bad, she also showed how it could be improved. Not the relationship, because the character obviously moved on, but just how to improve like the person from the previous relationship. I feel like a lot of romance novels, like the previous relationship is just used as like the antagonist or like the bad part, and then like the main character's getting away from that. But I liked that there was like follow-up there where like the person in the previous relationship, he's not just bad, but we have to help him become better later on in the series, because they did continue on with the series. He does pop up again, and I love the way it happens. So I'm just saying it was really well done. The other two books in the series, Yours Truly and Just for the Summer, also fantastic. Just for the Summer is probably my favorite in the series, but the one that surprised me the most was definitely Part of Your World, because I definitely was not expecting to love it as much as I did, and I ended up giving it like 5 stars. So yeah, really great series. If you don't really read romantic contemporaries but wanted to try some, these would be my recommendations. The next book on this list is The Serpent and the Wolf by Rebecca Robinson. I did do a full review on this one and a reading vlog on it, so if you've been watching my channel at all for the last couple of weeks, you've probably seen me talk about this. But this is a book that was actually sent to me by the publisher, so I wasn't really expecting very much from it. I just knew it was a romantasy, which I do like some romantasies, okay? I do, and this is one of them. I really enjoyed this so much. I think what worked for me so much is that it has a really good balance of like world building and like the fantasy side of things, and then also the romance side of things. In this, we're following a character named Vasa, who is in an arranged marriage to the foreman of another country, and he's in an election to become the headman, but she doesn't actually want to be there. She just witnessed her mother dying, being killed by this magic, which then went into her. So she's like convinced she's going to die very soon unless she learns how to control this magic. So she doesn't actually want to be married to this person. She just wants to go and figure out how to control this magic, but he really needs to be elected, and to do that he needs a wife, which it would really help if he had external foreign connections like Vasa, who is the princess of the nation next door, the empire next door. Her brother is the emperor, and he's kind of like a warlord emperor. So there's a lot of political intrigue, there is a little bit of spice, and there are some really great characters. I really loved how this all ended up coming together. I ended up giving it 5 stars. Would I still give it 5 stars if I reread it today? I don't know, but I liked it so much. The plot, especially towards the end, really, really well done. This book just put me in a really good mood. I'm so happy that I picked it up, and I was expecting literally nothing from it, and it ended up being one of my favorite books of the year. So I'm so excited to have read this book, and really excited for the next book in the series, because I'm pretty sure there's going to be another one. The next book that I want to talk about is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. So this book is a YA, also kind of romantasy, but it's following kind of like rival journalists in like a wartime. I liked the like concept of this, because I wasn't really expecting that, because I feel like in most YA we get kind of like the same thing, and this was definitely like a different concept. This is like super hyped, so I'm sure you have heard of it before. I think part of the reason why I didn't really expect to like this that much was because it is kind of like a YA romantasy. I wasn't sure if I was gonna like it, but like it has a good atmosphere. It's almost like a historical fantasy atmosphere that makes it so much fun to read. And then there is also like an actual plot to this that it doesn't really get to for a good portion of the book, but I did still end up really loving this. So it was also surprising to me, because I wasn't expecting to like this nearly as much as I did, and I did read the second one as well, which is Ruthless Vows, and I ended up loving that one as well. So great duology, really enjoyed these, definitely recommend. So that's all I have for you guys. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up to support my channel. Consider subscribing, because I have a ton of videos planned for the month of December. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.